deep left center field. Edmonds on the run. Dives, and he got it! Oh, field! Number 70!
Ankiel out to deep right field. Has a chance to leave the ballpark. It's gone! A 3-run shot for Rick Ankiel back in the major leagues.
Swing and a long one. There it is, folks. Baseball history. A second Grand Slam home run for Fernando Tatis in the third inning in Los Angeles, California. And the Cardinals lead it to 11-2.
This is the Cardinals Nation 24/7 podcast, the official podcast of the Cardinals Nation 24/7 Facebook page and the Cardinals Nation Facebook group. Here are your hosts, Ron Nuttall and Chris Lawless.
Good evening, Cardinal fans, and welcome back to lots of interesting things to talk about. And I think some of these things we're going to cover tonight, if we would have had heads up on this before the year even started, we'd be shocked. Not to mention Greg Holland is pitching awesome, just like our guest tonight pointed out before we hit the record button. And we got to talk about that. I think I posted something about that on Twitter or Facebook. Don't recall. But so here we are. It's August 9th. The Cardinals have won 4 series in a row. And it's been a very long time since they've done that. And prior to winning the series against Miami, which we would expect them to do if they're serious about competing this year, they won 3 series consecutively against winning clubs, contending clubs, and has been, you could trace that all the way back, I think, before last year, before a time when they had actually pulled that off. So we like what we've been seeing, but we're here to talk about that. A little bit of minor leagues, some injuries, a comeback, and all kinds of fun things. But before we get into that, joining me, as always, on the podcast by phone line. So if you're looking for his that sweet beard tonight, you're not going to see it, but you're going to be able to hear those chords. Chris Lawless.
Yep, it's been exciting. Talk about the good stuff going on.
It is good stuff. I know that we got the show off to a start, Chris, and then I think we roared through about 3 or 4 episodes and we started to see trouble happen. And so I'm glad we're here tonight talking about something a little bit more positive. I feel like we're going in that direction. But joining us on this show for the first time, if you haven't heard him, he's been a guest on the Team of Rivals podcast. That would be the t-shirt I'm wearing right now. And I like to confuse the hell out of people. I almost put my Birds on the Black hat on. Team of Rivals podcast t-shirt on the Cardinals Nation 24/7 podcast, because I like to do that to people. But you are watching. If you're watching, you are watching the Cardinals Nation 24/7 live show. Joining us tonight, first time on the show. He's been like I said, he was a guest on the Team of Rivals. Loved having him on. Actor, writer, director, lives out in Los Angeles, but he's from the area. That meaning he was from near the St. Louis area growing up. Huge Cardinal fan. Reaches out to me all the time. He is marooned out there in LA without being able to have deep baseball conversations, and especially with Cardinal fans. Love talking to him. Love having him on. Adam Maurer, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Adam's going to stick around for that one too, because you just can't get enough. You can't top off your baseball night without talking to 2 Cubs fans, right? I mean, how do you better your week? It's really hard to do. Chris, I think the first thing up, I want to talk about this. I don't think we'll spend a whole lot of time talking about it. It's just very interesting. I want to know what you think right now about Rick Ankiel and his comeback, stating he's going to come back on Fox Sports Midwest. How do you feel about that? And then we can get into what we think later about what are the chances of that actually happening.
Well, it's definitely more exciting, in my opinion, than the Rafael Palmeiro deal.
Yes,
I mean, as an Ankiel fan, I mean, it's something to get excited for the guy. I don't think anybody should have real high expectations, other than, hey, why not give it a go? If the guy wants to do it, and like you said, he wants to play in front of his kids. And he's not afraid if he hits the backstop or not. Why not give it a go? And if he does, I would love it to be in a St. Louis Cardinal uniform. It would be exciting. I don't know how much stock I'd put into whether or not it will happen, but no, I'd be game to root for the guy. I mean, how could you not?
No, he's got a pretty damn good backstory too. So go ahead, Adam. I want to hear what you think.
With regarding to Rick Ankiel, I would have to say,
get to walk out almost under his own power. You know, we all know the story's documented very well. In the playoffs in 2000, all of a sudden he lost something. You know, he just couldn't locate a ball. He couldn't pitch. And it carried over to the beginning of 2000. He was sent down to the minor leagues. He was sent all the way down to rookie ball just to get him away from everything, get him away from the spotlight and try to fix him. He eventually clawed his way back into the bullpen. I don't remember what years those were, Chris, but I want to say 2004.
Yes.
Is when he might have clawed his way back, but he couldn't stick. He decided to hang up the glove. Of course, we all know that. And he made it back as a freaking position player. Now, the guy was a good athlete. We knew that. He swung a good bat as a pitcher, but I had all confidence in the world when he said he wanted to be a position player. I believe that we were going to see him on the big club as a position player, and damn, we did. And when he arrived on the scene, you know, a little bit older for a rookie as a position player, but we had seen, you know, flickers of what he could do with a bat even when he was a pitcher. So we knew he was a good athlete. I wouldn't bet against this guy on just about any level, but I agree with you, Adam. I think in this case right here, I think he wants to get back on that mound. And the last time he walks off of it, he wants to know that I had control of myself and I was competing. And I think when he left as a pitcher and it kind of drove him into being a position player, he couldn't solve it in his own head. And I believe this time he thinks he can do it. I agree. I want some team to pick him up. I want him to finish, you know, getting that last batter he ever faces, getting him out. And having people say, damn, yeah, you know, yeah. Right.
Let him go out in the minors. I mean, if he makes it back to the majors, it's an even better story. Am I right?
Yeah.
You know, and so, I mean, that was exciting. You know, I'd say give him a go.
I would too. And I mean, I'd love to see him somewhere in the Cardinal system throwing. And I'd be curious what, you know, the rest of the group thinks, Chris, because, you know, we have, I don't know if this topic has come up as much as others, but, you know, some of the opinions, like a guy like Kyle Reese, you know, what would he think about Ankiel's chances and where would he be at in the minor league system? Because we know Kyle watches all 4 games simultaneously while he has the Cardinal games on in the background while he's sipping on whatever he's sipping on, probably with or without clothes on, who knows, right? But I'd be curious to know what somebody like him, Jared Redwine, who frequents this show, and I'm missing, you know, Zach Gifford, all those guys. Really curious how they feel about that. I mean, realistically, his chances are probably slim to make the majors. I think it'd just be a good story. It'd make us all feel good if he got that opportunity. But
well, I mean, something I did ask the group about is, you know, whether or not Ankiel or Wainwright or Rosenthal, who you would think most likely to least likely would be in a Cardinal uniform next season.
Yeah, that was a great question too. Let's tackle that while we're here, because I know I didn't answer that poll. So. Adam, I don't know if you saw it or not, or if you had addressed it on there, but out of what Chris just said, you've got Rick Ankiel, Adam Wainwright, Trevor Rosenthal. Who is the least likely to throw a major league pitch in a Cardinal uniform again? Who is most likely?
Wainwright.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And I think you follow it with Rosenthal and then Ankiel. I think Ankiel's got the steepest mountain to climb.
Well, Rosenthal, he still has his agent. He
maintained his balance. He's like he is like the I don't know if this is the right way to express it or not. He's the big fat alpha cat that still has his cat-like reflexes, but you know, he's got some size, he's got some girth around him. But that guy is fun. He's just fun to watch on highlights. Trust me, I don't tune in on my MLB.TV to watch a Cologne start, but when he has highlights, there's nothing better than watching with the Mets, watching Bartolo Colon round the bases after he accidentally hit a home run. And I don't know if he was clocked at the slowest trip around the bases, but I don't know how that pitcher could have possibly be offended by that, because I believe that was his first home run he's ever hit. And out of all those years pitching, funny thing about Bartolo Colon, they had mentioned this, Chris, you know, I'm a big fan of the Le Batard show. They had mentioned on there about, it was their stat of the day. I think it was their stat of the day, had rattled off all these Hall of Famers. And, you know, of course, Eddie Murray being one of them. And I don't know what year he was inducted, but it was years ago. And maybe this is why I need Pete around, because while I'm talking, Pete has his thing right in front of him and he can fact check for me. But he had to retire in the early 2000s or late 1990s. I'm guessing Eddie Murray, right? But you don't get inducted till 5 years later. So that means that not only he retired, but he's a Hall of Famer 5 years later. He faced Bartolo Colon, right? I mean, he rattled off all these players that had faced Bartolo Colon that had been retired for like over a decade. And so it's just amazing that this guy, not only does he still earn himself an opportunity, now it's not always, in a scenario where they're going to be competitive. You know, they maybe need an innings eater or something like that. But the fact that he's just still around is awesome in my mind. There's not many characters like that left in baseball, so I enjoy it.
Definitely.
But, yeah. So speaking of characters, Adam, I wanted to ask you about this at the top, and I nosedive right into baseball talk. But I wanted to ask you. I know that you're in the process right now of making a movie. I believe the title of that movie is called The Grail.
Yes.
And so where are you at in that process right now? Because I know when we had talked to you on the Team Arrivals a few months ago that you were getting into the post-production process, I believe.
Yes, we're at the end of the editing phase. So once we actually
any image at all is up on screen, it could have been filmed a year and a half or 2 years earlier, right? And in some cases even longer. And so it really is amazing how long that takes, because I think that if you're not paying attention, you're just a movie lover, but you don't pay attention to behind the scenes or how things are actually made. I mean, you would think these people just filmed this a few weeks ago. And then here it is, you know, all the everything just works, and it's not like that at all. So yeah, it is interesting. I know that I don't know if Pete will bring it up on the next show, but you know, he has a theater background, so he'll probably plug himself again, Adam, for your next project. He's that guy. He's the Stugotz. He's the Stugotz of our program.
We can definitely make that work. I'll talk to him.
All right. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm sorry. So Eddie Murray, 2003, by the way.
So he was
2003.
His last season was 1998. All right. And he faced Bartolo Colon.
Yep.
There were some other names on there too, but I'd have to go back and that's research. Maybe I'll ping Pete before we get there and we can talk about that next time around. But anyway, so on to baseball. So that was our thoughts and feelings around Rick Ankiel. A couple other things I want to talk about. So we finally get to see this Adolis Garcia, and I wasn't sure if we were going to see him. I thought the first time, Chris, that we would actually get a glimpse of him could have been in September, because he didn't start this year off very hot.
Right. Yeah, he got a slow start, and you know, Mercado was kind of rated above him, so he was probably going to get a nod before Garcia. But with the recent trade of getting rid of Mercado and O'Neill going down, it opened up a fast track to the majors. So,
well, it wasn't like it's a debut, right? You got to take these things for what they really are, and so he was 0 for 4 last night. You know, some people commenting on the page and everywhere else, you know, about, oh, I hate, you know, Bader should have been playing, and well, you know, these guys, all of them need a day off once in a while. And we have O'Neill that went on the DL. The next guy in line, the Cardinals felt, let's see what Garcia, how he'll respond coming up here, and I think that's all it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, if he went 4 for 4, they'd be wanting to build him a statue. So,
I mean, Adolis Garcia is hitting 296 in AAA.
Right. I think where they're lighter, I think, than what they would like to be, and that's infield, right? Because they really had nobody that they could pull from the minor league system, besides Munoz. Munoz is not a long-term option at short, but they didn't have that next guy to say play short, or you could argue maybe Wisdom gets a shot at third base if catastrophe happens up on the big club, but outfield and pitching, yes, that may be enough to argue that the Cardinals. I think that the Cardinals have the best farm system. And that's not it's not. Chris, how did we miss asking Kyle that last week, or did we? And did I just black out and not hear his answer? I don't think we did.
I was gonna say I must have blacked out too then.
No, didn't mention it.
Yeah, I don't think I did. So we got a glimpse of Garcia. Yeah, he had a couple strikeouts. It was his first game, his first exposure. If you discount spring training, usually when these guys get the bulk of their playing time, it's against other minor leaguers. They're going to end up in AAA or AA. But yeah, fine, it is what it is. I'm gonna have to see this guy a lot more before I throw down any judgment on him at all. He's an impressive looking athlete, and you know, we'll see how this all shapes up. So they still have depth. Yeah,
on the others. I mean, if you look at all of our players, if you look at, say, to allow a player,
just the talent and depth that they had in their arms alone, just in the pitching. Yeah. Because, I mean, just name off the starters to begin this year. Michaelis was a complete unknown. And he right now you would legitimately have to call him the staff ace. You know, if we're going to the playoffs tomorrow, he's got to be starting game one.
Yes.
He has to be starting game one. Carlos has been dinged up this year, and throw that out. Throw out his injuries. Who knows what he would have done in a full healthy season, but we've seen it, Chris, opening day and big games. I mean, he struggles on those occasions. You know what? Quite frankly, Wainwright had too in the past. You know, opening days or game one of a playoff series. You know, I don't know. Let's see what Michaelis can do this year. But I think he's got to be your number one. But anyway, when we started out the year, he was a complete unknown. You know, Waka's been dinged up. Martinez is out again. Who else? Who am I missing here? We had help me, guys. I'm all of a sudden blanking out on who the starters 4 and 5 were for some reason.
Waka. Oh, Weaver. I mean, Weaver has
Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver's he looked okay in the start against Miami. I mean, he didn't, but
a lot of his losses have not been fair to him. I mean, half of his losses he left with either,
and probably he took one more step towards getting back. But let's address this right now. How do we feel about this? Do we
bullpen?
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that, right? I mean, I guess in all fairness, we should have to see what kind of condition he's in when he's making a few rehab starts, right? But I'd have to agree with you.
He should be bullpen. Period. I mean, until he shows that he can go multiple innings, he shouldn't just
3+ innings before they can turn it over to that bullpen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how it shakes out. The question is, so they're going to expand rosters in September. Is it going to take that long? I mean, we're already a third of the way through. My math right there. Yeah, we're a little under a third of the way through August. So I don't know what his timetable is, or if he'll ever put on a uniform again for St. Louis. But I think September is the time that we're looking at for that to happen. And they'll certainly have the roster space. And if they do, they should have him on the team. They should have him there in uniform until the end of the regular season.
Yeah, I was gonna say in September. I mean, you're gonna have guys like Brebbia and Webb will be up, and Ponce de Leon, and so I mean, you're even a Wainwright that's capable in the bullpen. Are you gonna give him a nod over guys that might have better stuff at this point? I mean, especially if we're really in the mix.
I don't think Mike Schultz will.
Yeah.
Mathane's still there. Not to knock on Mike. We've already said what we had to say on Mike, but you could see that, right, Chris? Do you disagree that you could see Mike putting right back in the rotation because
right. I mean, it's one of those things that Schultz got that good relationship with those guys, and not that he doesn't with Wainwright, but I think he would probably go to him and be like, look, we're this close, and it's not that we don't have faith in you to do it, but at the same time, this is what's getting us here. And how do you turn your back on what's got us here?
I totally agree. Adam, your kind of assessment on the whole thing. You said just bullpen, and
I just with all of his injuries, and he is 37 years old. I'm not saying that he can't start, but I think even reading an article that he came out and he said, look,
anything, and so
right.
I've always agreed with Pete on that, and I think that's if he arrives back on the major league roster before the end of the regular season, I do believe that's the capacity we'll find him in. So, quick thing I want to pivot to, and then we'll get to some of the group questions here. This whole Javier Baez versus Matt Carpenter MVP talk. Chris and I, we've seen a lot of the debate back and forth on Twitter. We've seen a little bit on Facebook. It's been Cardinal heavy, obviously, because we're looking at the page more often, right, in the group. But how do you guys feel about this whole debate? You know what? Here's the positive I'm seeing out of it. You have Cubs and Cardinals fans backing one of their guys, and this is naturally going to be a thing. It's like the Yachty versus Contreras thing that happened, over the off season. And I love that this rivalry has players that are that good that we can have those kinds of discussions. Because Chris, over the last couple of years, we really couldn't have those kinds of debates with a guy like Rizzo or versus a guy like Bryant, because we just didn't have anybody that was on their level over the last 2 years. But now all of a sudden we're looking at Javier Baez. And by the way, so I'm going to start on this, guys, and I want to hear what you think. Javier Baez is an uber talent in Major League Baseball. He's athletic. He can play damn near he could play any position on the defense, right? Right. 2 through 8, you could probably put him in there and he's serviceable anywhere. And I said 2 through 8, and that, I mean catcher too. I mean, the guy is talented. He plays with a lot of fire. He still does stupid shit on occasion, but he does less stupid shit than he had the prior years.
Right. Yeah,
he swings a good bat. He's fiery. I like him. I like what he does for the game because he adds flavor to a game that can be very bland at times. So I don't have a problem with him. Now, if I want to compare him to MVP discussion, Javier Baez has right now, if the season ended today, he's got to be in it. If he's not MVP, he's going to be runner-up, I think. I also think at this point, you look at what Matt Carpenter has done this year, absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. I got down on this guy in the middle of May too.
Oh yeah.
You know, he looks confused and lost at the plate, even though he wasn't. But to us, looking at it through, a television screen, just what happened to Matt Carpenter? And then mid-May to now, he's had 3 months that are just like historic. They're incredible. Matt Carpenter has earned the right to be in the MVP discussion. No doubt about it. I just have a hard time right now calling it. Guys, it's a photo finish right now. I mean, you can argue. I can
give you an example on why he should be and not just in the conversation, though.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but
no.
Yeah.
A lot of writers and voters penalize players because of that. So you're like, yeah, I think that's where you're going.
Well, I mean, but okay, so you look at the RBIs, right? Cardinals in general have hit more, have too much.
It hasn't worked each time they've tried it.
But that's that's not a
absolutely no. It's in his head. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. That's all of that is in his head. And I wonder. Teams would never do this. I'm kidding, right? I'm gonna say this, but they should probably just put him in at third, but go ahead and tell the other team you can have the first 2 outs of the game, just to trick him into hey, look, you're taking that first at bat. But I guess what I'm in most awe of right now. And Adam, you brought up the thing where guys get penalized because of the teams they're playing on.
But that's what I mean. Mike Trout doesn't get penalized. Giancarlo
every year. He's just a player that before you even step into the year, like, damn, he's going to be in the top 3 MVP voting. We already know this. Whereas Matt Carpenter has never kind of been that yet. This is really his first year where he's making his case just to be in the conversation. He's always been a really nice player, I think, to the rest of baseball, a respected player, a respected leadoff hitter with some pop, but he was known for a lot of extra base hits and all that, and a lot of walks.
But why do we have to build up to everyone talks about Nolan Arenado. People are finally talking about Baez.
The big cities. It's going to be LA, which is primarily the Dodgers, but there's a little bit of a halo effect there. No pun intended, right, yeah. with the halos, right? I mean, yes. They happen to be in proximity. They've got some big names on their team. They're absolutely going to get some of that attention, especially since they have that Shohei Ohtani who hits all these landmark batting practice home runs that Major League Baseball likes to tweet out. That's awesome. But no doubt, you're absolutely correct. Because of the region that Matt Carpenter plays in, because he had a decent year last year, but not a great year. Matt Carpenter's, I don't think he's ever finished in the top 5 in MVP voting. No. Baez hasn't either, but Baez is a different type of player. He's a human highlight reel, right? And so he gets those ESPN, Sports Center, amazing plays and all that stuff. He gets that kind of stuff because he's an exciting player to watch. But I think I agree with the sentiment that, I think he gets penalized a little bit because of the region he plays in. He also gets penalized because his team hasn't been doing that great. Yadi's felt this exact same effect, guys, because the Cardinals have not been winning. They've missed the playoffs the last 2 years. Yadi Molina got a lot more love when the Cardinals were consistently in the NLCS.
But the strange thing about that though is, like you touched on, you can't help the team that you play for. And me, I hate to give any kind of Cub credit. Baez is definitely a stud, but the team around him is a better team than what we have. And for a guy like Carpenter to put the team on his back when there was guys like Pham that couldn't hit for shit, all these young guys coming up trying to find their groove. Yeah. It's like, is Carpenter getting punished because of the fact that our team isn't that good, that should also put some weight on it.
Yeah.
Hey, look at what he's doing. And these guys aren't getting on in front of him. These guys aren't, driving him in. And I think it kind of works against him, but the fact that he's doing it with the team that we have, to me, he shouldn't be penalized. That's more of a pro on why he should get the MVP.
Exactly. It's more impressive.
Hey, real quick, guys. So WAR has to come into this too, because a lot of the writers are putting WAR into the equation.
Yes.
So as far as WAR, I'm trying to pull this up right now.
Oh, I got it for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Baez has right.
So there's no doubt, right? I mean, we can look at the stats and say, you know what, Carpenter's he's had a really good year fielding percentage. He's not been a liability, but Matt Carpenter will make the routine plays, and sometimes he'll make a good play, kind of out of his comfort zone. Whereas we all can agree, right? If you
it scares me watching him play third. It's terrifying.
Right. But so to your point there, Adam, if we were in a tight game and you only had to choose between Baez's glove or Carpenter's glove at a key infield position, who the hell are you picking, right? We're all going to say Baez, right? Right. But I think it's a great debate, and I love that we can talk about it. I'm looking forward to this on the next show too, because we're going to be dealing with two Cub fans, and I predict right now they're going to acknowledge that Carpenter has been spectacular, and they're going to say he's absolutely been in. He deserves to be in the discussion. He deserves to be right there at the end, and it's going to be a tight. We have 50 some odd games to play left, so let's see how this plays out. But it's exciting. I love having this conversation.
Ron, he's leading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's leading in 7 of the 8 categories.
I just have to call on them every once in a while to have them come on and educate us.
Look at the stats. If you look at the stats, he's leading in every single one of them except the average. So
the one thing that was pretty exciting, to have 2 of them battling it out for an MVP. I mean, it's pretty sweet.
What would be great? What would be great is having a violent Cub fan on the call right now, and Jim Cromer.
Where's Elliot?
He'll be on tonight, so we can.
I know he's gonna. He'll tag that one.
Yeah. All right, guys. I want to pivot real quick to our group questions because we're running on about minute 47 here. So this has been a great discussion. I want to go to Mary. I'm sorry. By the way, everybody, I'm gonna read off here. We're gonna try to get to as many of them as possible. I'm probably gonna butcher many names here. This comes from Mary to Shirley. When are the Cardinals getting rid of Cecil and getting someone to replace him to help us win the World Series? ? Please don't say they have too much money invested in him, because that won't fly. They got rid of Holland. True. Who are they still paying for? ! So that's Mary to Shirley. Cecil is close to coming back. I'd have to think he is going to be a candidate to be DFA'd, and I don't know what you guys feel like, but I don't see with Austin Gomber up now. Do they desperately need that other lefty in the pen? I mean, you could definitely make an argument that they do.
Not with Shreve.
True. I'm sorry. Yes, I totally forgot. You're right. Thank you, Adam. I forgot that he was with us. He stopped crying, I think, last week at some point in time. But hey, look, I say that, I'm kidding. I love a player that has emotion and loved the teammates he had. So I have no problem with that.
No, I have a problem with the fact that he was crying about leaving New York and coming to St. Louis. I have a problem with that.
You do?
I do, because he's not from New York.
I think it's just more of the people he had played with for a long time. I think that's all it came from.
Let's be honest here. He's upset about leaving New York because they're on a run and they're playoff berth team.
He's going to have a pleasant surprise in St. Louis then.
Well, hey, if he stops crying long enough to go out there and get some outs, we'll be able to make the playoffs too. But I mean, you look over the years. I mean, we had Roger Maris for a couple of seasons, after leaving New York.
Right.
You know what I never heard about Roger?
We also had Tino Martinez.
Oh my
God. Right. He was no Roger Maris, but
that Shreve kind of looks like Roger Maris.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Chris, same question about Cecil.
I hate to say we're stuck with the guy, but like you said, DFA is going to be the only option too, because I believe he has a complete no trade clause, and with the amount of time and
are you kidding me? He has a complete no trade clause.
I believe he does. I
knew Fowler did, but
Yeah.
Oh my God! All right,
I think
have a
could be
no
wrong,
trade
but I
clause,
think he
have
does.
5 teams included in it.
yeah, they've got to. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, they just need to cut ties. I mean, there's really not a spot for what he's done. I mean, he might have a couple good outings, but it's not reliable and consistent.
Yeah.
And at this point, hey, if you cut Holland and his 14, you
right
cut
now.
him too.
Yeah, I would too. So I'm going to move on to the next one here. Is Adolis Garcia going to get to play at all during this call-up? I really like Schultz so far, but can't understand the reason for being called up. Yeah, well, that's already been answered, right? He started last night.
No, but will he play again? He'll play in the Kansas City series. Yeah,
I think so too. That question, I'm sorry, that question came from Jamie Rogers. So thank you for it. Oh, and somebody answered it for us. I love it, Chris. I love it. I love it when our group members answer these questions, but that's fine. We love you guys. Brian Duncan answered it starting tonight in center. So this was yesterday. Oh, sorry. I should have read down farther. I don't expand these sometimes, but Jamie responded, never mind. All right. So I'll move on to the next question. This is our friend Jeff Schrader. Do you guys wear pants on the live show? We never see you guys in the waist down. You don't want me to answer that. I didn't figure Adam did. He's out in California. Weird shit happens out there, but I'm also on the East Coast, and you have no idea what happens out here. You got I've got my cool thread underwear on. It is hot as hell here, guys, by the way. And where I'm sitting right now, I have no AC.
No. So you're in North
it's
Carolina,
breezy
right?
here.
I'm in North Carolina, right?
My brother-in-law is also North Carolina, based out of Fort Bragg, and he bought these.
So why don't we tell everybody real quick, because we're coming up on we only got about 10 minutes left on this show. Chris, we have a contest.
Yeah.
We posted about that. So why don't you give everybody the details?
Yeah. A buddy of mine, Ryan Houston, he runs Fan Cave Sports, and he kind of reached out because we're pretty good about if he's got a deal going, we'll share that on the page or in the group. And just kind of as a return favor, he said, hey, why don't I hook you guys up with an Adolis Garcia autographed baseball, do kind of a giveaway. It might bring fans kind of to our page from his and vice versa. So we kind of set this thing up to where, like our page, you like Fan Cave, and share our post, comment Go Cards. And on next week's episode, Ron and I will select a winner from the ones that have submitted an entry, and the winner will get an Adolis Garcia signed baseball.
Well, that's exciting. We've had a lot of response to that so far. So the challenge for us will be to compile all these names and figure out how the hell to draw one of them. But I think we've got a solution for that, so it'll be clean.
Right.
It'll be clean. All right, on to the questions here. So Dustin Duffy, when will the Cardinals get credit for what they are doing with these young guys? To me, it reminds me of the 2015 scrubs. By scrubs, he means Cubs. Adam, we'll start with you on that.
I mean, they should be getting the credit right now. If you look at the way
there was it, Chris. Do you remember that article, that headline?
Yeah.
Our first amphibious pitcher. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He started off the game in the water and then went up on land. Right. Sorry, that's me. I'm going to go off the rail because I had a random thought go through my head. That's why Pete's letting me know the intro is going up for the next show now, so that's good news.
To go back to what you were originally,
when you let your center fielder off a day because he's played like 9 games in a row, you got another center fielder right there that's just as capable. And I like Bader's exciting. So is O'Neill in the outfield. I'm so happy to see those guys getting the bulk of the playing time out there. And Ozuna, we're waiting for Ozuna to arrive. Really, I mean, we've seen what he can do in spurts, but if this lineup improves around him, I predict you're going to see him improve as well. Chris, same question though. Going back to it, is like, with the insurgence of all the youth, one of the Cardinals are going to start getting credit for this. And I think the question really comes from writers, from media, and not just locally to St. Louis, because I feel like locally in St. Louis, the media has arrived at that point. Everyone else, I think, is the real question.
Yeah, I agree. They're getting credit right now. I mean, they're getting the playing time. They're doing, Schultz putting the guys out there that are like Bader hustling and putting us in a better position to win. I mean, can't really say now with Fowler being injured, but I don't see, even if he wasn't, I think Bader would be getting more playing time at this point. I've got faith in
what did
Cam
Mosaic
Donovan.
earlier in the year? Injuries usually solve the problem. Where's my bow tie? Where's
Collar to a dog? I want to get to this question here because I recognize this name. I played baseball with this guy from my hometown, Michael Emery. He's now the head coach of the Canton Little Giants, Canton, Illinois, purple and gold. His question is, with the insurgence of the young outfielders, who do you suppose the Cardinals will go after this winter? Still need a big bat? Question mark. Do we still need a big bat? I'm gonna answer this because I think that they've got to find that 3-hitter. I think that's the thing that they're missing in this lineup. I love Jose Martinez, I truly do, but we all know he can be a liability on defense. He's not your ideal guy you want out in right field. We know that he's very shaky at first base. I know that no doubt the guy is working his tail off. He's trying to get better. He's trying to be serviceable as a defensive player. I give him all the credit in the world. I love his personality. I would imagine he is adding to this wonderful blend we have in the clubhouse, this looseness, this having fun. I love the guy, but he really should not be our 3-hole hitter. We should have somebody that every day the manager can write in ink, not pencil, ink, that says, this is our 3-hole hitter. We've been missing it for a very long time. Anybody who's listened to any of the shows I've done, you've heard me say the same thing. That 3-hole hitter, I believe they need it. Who that's going to be, there are several paths they can take. They can get way out of their comfort zone and they can make a push for a guy like Manny Machado. And they can say, we're going to build our core around this offensive player. He's going to be here for years to come. And you had a player like that in the middle lineup, it is going to make the rest of your lineup better. We all know this, right? It's going to extend everybody out. Guys you're asking to bat in the 3-hole that have no business batting there can now thrive in a position that's more suited for their talent and their skill level. Who that's going to be, I don't know. You have a Josh Donaldson who's going to end up being 34 next year, and he's been injured a lot this year. I don't know that he's the answer. No. I don't see that happening. So once you get past Manny Machado, I'm not sure what's out there via trade. AJ Pollock, could he conceivably be a 3-hole hitter? He's going to be available at, who knows? Nolan Arenado, the Rockies aren't going to trade him. What the hell would they trade him for?
I like Pollock though. I like
Pollock, but Pollock is an outfielder, and we have a lot of those. We have a lot of those good options we're all in love with. Could Ozuna be looked at as being dealt in the offseason because he's going to be a free agent after next year? I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that happening, but at the same time, if you're looking at a guy to come in and be your 3-hole hitter, at this point, the guys that are going to be free agents, I mean, your Harper and your Machado, it gets fairly weak when you look past Donaldson, who's injured a lot. Pollock is a great outfielder, But again, you bring a guy in and you're kind of blocking your Bader and O'Neill, and unless you're just ready to move on and get a legit stud, it'll be another question mark if you get an aging guy or if you get. I mean, it's kind of a hit and miss. I do agree, Jose Martinez is not your 3-hole hitter that you need to have. But with the youth member we have right now, it's hard to give up on all these young guys or split the core up, because right now the young pitching is great. But I do think Garcia, Bader, and O'Neill, that's 3 stud outfielders that maybe all 3 don't turn out.
Yeah.
But 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Adam.
No, I was just going to say about, look, Harper's.
Adam. I do genuinely believe that they do that. But is there always another big market team that can come? Like, look, they overwhelmed David Price. That's the only reason he wasn't pitching for the Cardinals over the last.
Exactly. But yeah. They aren't buyers. Red Sox, New York, LA, they're not buyers.
Here's this question. Is the first base on the 50-yard line? I can never remember. Well, Scott, you're an ass. And you know where the first baseline is at. You know how far it is away. It's 90 feet. My brother knows more about baseball when he likes to lead on, but if sports ball, right? Exactly. Right. There's your answer. Chris already answered it last night, so I don't know why I asked it. Adam, how do you want to address that? He's got thick skin.
Okay. Why are you an asshole?
There you go, buddy.
So clearly, baseball.
The Nolan, the Christian Bale Batman series. I was with him on all those. Right? Hey, this is awesome.
That was the only good. I mean, since Tim Burton, that's the only DC film to watch.
What do we expect? So they're going to Kansas City this weekend, and my concern with this team is they did what they had to do in Miami. I think they could have easily swept that series, but they just, for whatever reason, the first game just got away from them. It was close, but they couldn't pull it off. How do we feel about Kansas City? Because we've known our Cardinals over the last few years to play well against good teams when they're hot. All of a sudden, we'll go into somebody who's not playing so well and either split or just get flat out beat. So
Kansas
how do we
beating Chicago, man?
They thumped them last night. That was fun to watch.
Kansas City is kind of go out there and win, but as we saw earlier in the season, it doesn't always happen. I'm kind of looking forward to Monday. I'll finally be going to a game at Busch and
sweet
get to watch Bryce Harper and chew a little bit at him because I'll be right there by the right field foul pole. So
awesome.
Hopefully I'll get to see more bat flips than hair flips, and we can bring on the winner.
All right, awesome. Adam, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I know that you're a huge Cardinal fan. Hopefully the listeners on this show, on the audio version, will appreciate your perspective on this, being a marooned Cardinals fan out there in Los Angeles. You and our buddy Matthew Burnsy was up in Seattle enjoying a Pearl Jam concert last night, and I think he had a lot of fun.
Can I mention one more thing? I know he's only 18. He's in rookie ball. He had 37 games, 142 at bats, 41.
Impressive, and I know that Kyle Reese, who we talked to last week, Chris, is pretty high on this guy too. So, all right, well, when you're not listening to us live, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Radio Public. If you haven't used Radio Public, it's a very, very simple app. It's just like your iTunes. Chris is very good about putting out the link on Facebook, and so just click on that. You can hear us. YouTube, we'll do the show live from now on Thursdays at 7:30 Central Time, and we'll put the link out on Facebook on those too. So, Chris, any final thoughts?
Beat those Royals.
Beat some Royal ass. Dinkinger's not umpiring anymore, so we got a better chance.
Yeah.
Adam, once again, thank you for joining us. And any parting words to Cardinals Nation here?
Let's go Cards.
All right, couldn't have said it better myself. All right, everyone, we will talk to you same time, same place next week. In the meantime, go Birds.
Go Birds.
In the air, deep left center field. Edmonds on the run.